Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight for the Taft City Council meeting for August 19th, 2014. It may appear as we're running a little light tonight, but I can tell you Mr. Miller is not going to be here, and we're still waiting to hear from Mr. Norris. So we will begin the meeting tonight, as usual, with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Ron Waldrop and an invocation by Reverend Heather Mueller of St. Andrew's Episcopal Church. Please rise.
Salute and pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Almighty and eternal God, source of all good things, justice, peace, and love, we come together this night as members of this community, our wonderful city, Taft, asking for your guidance as we seek to be the instruments of peace and justice and love. And help us, Almighty God, extend our thoughts and our compassion and our prayers beyond the boundaries of this city, to the state of California, to this beautiful country of ours, and to the world that you have given to us, the human race, and all creation. Help us to know how we are called in this town to be justice makers for all of the people on this planet. We know that an injustice in one place is an injustice throughout the world. We thank you, dear Lord, for this gathering. We ask your blessing upon it and all good things in your most holy name. Amen.
After the closed session, you mean? Okay. All right. Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a lot of stuff going on here tonight, and we're hoping to gain at least one more council member. We're currently scheduled to go to a closed session, but we're going to jump around on our agenda just a little bit, and we are going to move down to, I'm sorry, Mr. Jones, Department Reports, which is item number 8. So at this time, I'm sorry, we better get a roll call in first, hadn't we? May we have a roll call, please?
Sure. Mayor Linder?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Pryor?
Here.
Councilmember Miller? Absent. Councilmember Knorr? Absent. Councilmember Waldrop?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now at this time, we're going to jump around on our agenda, and we're going to move to item number 9, number 8, which is department reports. Mr. Jones?
Ed White,
I
the
believe-
Police Department has a presentation.
Thank you.
Nothing like bumping him up, say not ready.
Yeah.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. Tonight I have with us Sergeant Shad Swanson of the Taft Police Department. He is one of our veteran investigators, having served a couple of years on the task force working narcotics cases. He is very familiar with the item on the agenda tonight we have that will showcase a piece of equipment and software that will allow us to enhance our investigative abilities now and in the near future. I'm going to turn it over to Sergeant Swanson. He has a presentation to show you here on the wall concerning the item that we have on the agenda for tonight. Sergeant Swanson. Thank you.
technology is a wonderful thing when it works. But if you got my luck, it always gets you. But I think the chief is getting closer now. 2010?
That was borrowed.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get new technology.
That's one of the last dinosaur bag, huh?
You're familiar with Windows 8 because you heard that at the very touch.
Yeah.
Yeah, there. And then the other menu
Mike's got one, too.
from the beginning.
You got a Surface? Yeah.
It's broken.
Oh, so you...
Out of the box, yeah.
Okay. I'd say good evening to the council and staff. As Chief Whiting explained, we have a product that we're interested in. I've put together a presentation that kind of explains the reason that we need it, and a brief overview of what it is and how it will impact the city financially. There we go. The product has to do with cellular telephones and the data that they contain. In today's world, the forensics examination of the phones has been increasingly important to criminal investigations for several reasons. And more commonly, the information taken off of those phones is being used by the district attorney's office to prosecute cases. And even before that, in solving crimes. The kind of data that we're talking about is not limited to this, but most commonly photos and video, text conversations, contacts, call logs, web browsing history, and social media correspondence is all just an idea of some of the things that may have evidentiary value in cases that we're investigating. Attached to these files on phones is what they call metadata. For those of you not familiar with that, it is the word metadata basically means data about data. Anything taken, like a photograph or a video in particular, taken with a cell phone, it attaches some information to that is retrievable, that will include the make, model, date and time, the make and model is the device that took the picture of the video, the date and time that it was created, and in some cases we can even get GPS coordinates off of where the phone was at the time the picture or video was taken. Just recently we've used that in particular for a video to prove that it depicted the crime we were investigating. We were able to prove that it was the date, time, and right where the crime occurred. This is just an example on text messages. This is actually, I think, from a case that I worked when I was with the Kern Narcotics Enforcement Team, but this is the kind of text messages that we see, and this particular one was off of a case that was prosecuted as a drug sales case, and as you can see by the conversation that was listed on there, it was extremely important in helping to prove that the narcotics that we seized from the person was possessed for sales rather than personal use. I'll also mention the Narcotics Task Force now has this cell phone, the information extraction software. At the time that I was assigned to that unit, we did not, and we were kind of forced to take photographs of the telephone in order to submit it to the district attorney's office. The problem with that is with just a photograph of the phone, we also have to retain proof of what phone we took it from and all that other stuff. So we had to hold the telephone in evidence for several months until the case was completely done. With the recent cases where we've used this software to take the information off, the district attorney has been willing to let us release the phone because we've pulled everything off in a forensically appropriate manner, and at that point the physical phone isn't so important, and we're able to release that and get it back to the owner Sometimes when it's the suspect whose phone we're getting information off of, during the prosecution phase, if we have to hold the phone, it's no big deal. But a lot of times we have witnesses who have voluntarily given their cellular telephones, and we really don't want to have to hold their phone for 6 months while a trial's going on. So with this software, we'll be able to take the information off of what we need and hopefully get it back to the person the same day. We've got a couple of video examples. This one in particular, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it, but this is the one that I had mentioned before that we were able to get the metadata off of, and it showed the date, time, and location of what we were seeing. Hopefully, well, I guess it's not going to play. Anyway, basically it was a violent assault that resulted in some significant bodily injury that required several surgeries over a period of time. The next slide, this is actually an example of the metadata taken from that video. I'll use the cursor here. It shows here the creation date was August 31st, 2013. That's basically 12:41 and 17 seconds at midnight. The -7 is the -7 hours from Greenwich Mean Time. It also shows the GPS coordinates, the model of the phone, and then there's other data that is not so important necessarily, but like file size and length down to the microsecond and things like that. But again, the date, time, and GPS coordinates in this was extremely important for us. The projected usage for the police department, it's like anything else, it's kind of hit and miss, but as time goes by and people rely more heavily on their cell phones, it's increasing. We've actually conducted three searches within the past month, and that was at the request of the district attorney for prosecution purposes. A lot of times right now, we're seizing telephones and holding on to them, but not going through the trouble of taking them somewhere to get them read unless the district attorney requests it. We look through it as best we can to see what evidence is on there, but again, there's, just like searching a computer, there's all kinds of places in a phone that they can store their pictures, and we don't always know that we're seeing everything when we're thumbing through the phone itself. So we're estimating at this point, I think 2 per month as far as cell phone searches is probably a real conservative number, and as time goes by, I think that number is just going to increase. Additionally, with the Modified Community Correction Facility, prior to their closing several years ago, staff there said that they were seizing up to 50 cell phones per month that were being smuggled into the facility. That number is expected to greatly reduce because we don't have outside work crews because of the classification of prisoners that we're housing. But everywhere in the country, it's a problem with any correctional facility. So at some point, I'm sure they're going to figure out a way to smuggle in phones. I mean, if they can smuggle them into a maximum security facility at Corcoran, I think they could probably figure out how to do it at our facility. With those phones seized, with this software, we hope that it will help to identify which inmate was using the telephone, if we don't already know, not to mention the correspondence that they're having with people outside the facility, and if they're trying to make arrangements for narcotics or tobacco or anything to be smuggled into the facility. With this information, we may be able to intercept, prevent it from entering the facility, and also arrest the person who's attempting to bring it in. At this point, though, we don't have, the CCF hasn't been open for long enough to have any hard data, so I don't really have an estimate on how many phones we'll be seizing from the CCF, but some will be seized, I'm sure, at some point. The problem is, despite the increase in the need for forensic examinations of cell phones, the availability of resources is shrinking for law enforcement agencies that don't possess the capability to conduct their own examinations. The reason for this is basically an issue of volume. The agencies that can and do have the software and the hardware are willing to help other agencies, but obviously the more they have to do cell phone searches for their own purposes, the less time they have to do for helping out outside agencies. Also, the more time an agency spends assisting an outside agency, the less willing they are to do so without some kind of compensation. One of the examples is the District Attorney's Investigations Division used to do, well, actually, they still do, but they're getting ready to stop. They used to do the cell phone searches. Because of the volume, they've limited, they will not do cell phone searches for narcotic cases or anything that's not a violent felony. And even on those violent felonies, including murder, their turnaround time can be up to a month, which if we need the information off of that phone to identify a suspect, a month may as well be forever. And again, their plan is to stop doing it because more and more agencies are getting their own software, and as that happens, the DA's office is actually spoke with one of their investigators recently, and not only are they going to stop doing the searches, but I think their plan is to actually get rid of the software, and they won't even have that capability anymore. Example number 2, the Kern County Sheriff's Department. Their Technical Investigations Division does cell phone searches, and right now they are not charging. That also was the case with computer searches. As computers started becoming more prevalent, they started being seized as evidence as well. But here in the last few years, they stopped doing that free of charge. Now they're charging in excess of $1,000 for an outside agency to search a computer. I believe it's around $1,200 or $1,400 per computer that they're doing. And their turnaround time is, again, a month or more. We recently had a case where we needed a cell phone search done. I contacted them. They were more than willing to do it, and they were going to do it at no charge. But they only had 2 technicians who were already backed up, and they were going to a month-long training class. The DA needed the information by the trial date, which was 3 days from the day I made this phone call, and they weren't going to be able to give us our information for at least a month. In that particular case, our solution was Tehachapi PD recently acquired this same product that I'm doing a presentation on. They were willing to help. I had to transport the phone to the Tehachapi Police Department and have them use their software and hardware. The way they have their software set up, it has to be an administrator that runs the software, and so they had to call their IT department, and they had to remotely log into their computer to run the software and help us out. We were able to get it in a fairly reasonable amount of time. And Tehachapi PD in this case was willing to absorb the cost of their IT call-out. But about 2 weeks later, we had another one, and Kern County Sheriff's Department people were still out of town. I didn't want to take advantage of Tehachapi PD and ask them to absorb the cost again. Luckily, we found out that their IT department is the same company that we contract with for our IT department. So we were able to do the same thing, but then IT billed the Taft Police Department directly, and Tehachapi didn't have to cover the cost for us. The conclusion is the investigative need for the timely extraction of cell phone data will be an ongoing expense for the Taft Police Department. Currently, based on what we had to do with the last 2 phones going to Tehachapi, and this is a little bit conservative, but I'm estimating 2 hours travel time. It's probably closer to 3 from here to Tehachapi. But I base this on 2 hours travel time plus an hour for the extraction. So at a top step officer pay scale, we're paying, if they're not on overtime, $87.93 roughly in salary for the time it takes them to go to Tehachapi, plus the fuel for transporting it up there, and then IT, a 2-hour call out for IT is $250. So for each cell phone extraction we're going to do, it's going to cost us about $357 and change. Our goal is for Taft PD to be able to operate in a more self-sufficient manner and to save investigative costs in the long term. Sistine is the company that I checked with. It's the same product that Tehachapi PD uses. I contacted them, got some information. They have a product that includes, it's a combination of hardware and software. It extracts all data from the cellular phones, photos, video, text, call records. It's able to break through security passcodes for people who aren't being cooperative with us. And it also has the capability of retrieving deleted data, so if somebody's wiped their phone clean, as long as that information hasn't been written over, we can still retrieve it with this software. And it also creates forensic reports, which will help the DA's office with prosecution. It's a pretty pricey product. Their MSRP is just over $12,000, although as I was talking to them, they sent some information about a matching funds grant that offsets the cost. The grant is being offered nationwide to 120 law enforcement agencies and 120 only. Once they reach that number, the grant's gone. I sent them some information, applied for the grant, and got approval for it. And they said that they would be more than willing to hold our spot, but once they've had 120 invoices paid, then we're out of luck. So they're holding it until they get their payment. So for that reason, time's kind of the essence as far as taking advantage of the grant. That's just some of the information about their product that they sent me, and a little bit about the grant. This is the invoice they sent. Basically, the grant that was approved will pay $7,391 of the $12,390, which brings our matching funds portion that we would be responsible for at just under $5,000. Based on the 2 cell phones per month, that's not counting anything that we get from the CCF or any increase in that number, with the way we've have been doing it, we're going to spend roughly $715 a month just doing these cell phone searches. Again, take the $4,999 that is the matching funds portion of the grant, do the math, and I expect if we pick this product up that will have paid for itself in about 7 months. If the CCF brings us 15 cell phones tomorrow, then it's paid for itself in the 1 day. And again, these numbers don't count anything from them, and the 2 per month is pretty conservative. That's about where we're at. If you guys have any questions, I can do my best to answer it. And
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
I was just going to make clear, our staff report states that Sistine has given us this grant, but the rest of the cost of the software program is going to come out of your drug forfeiture money. So it's really no, I guess what I'm saying, it's no cost to the taxpayer.
Bad guys pay.
The bad guys are paying for the tools that you guys are going to use to get more bad guys, which is a pretty cool idea.
That's correct.
Something else had popped into my head, but I guess my point is that as handy as these things are, they can also crucify you in a sense too. So
they can. There was just recently Supreme Court case law said that we had to basically acquire a search warrant or consent to search anybody's phone. We can't do it just with an arrest anymore. And they cited the increasing, I mean, it's basically a mini computer, and people are storing an incredible amount of personal data on them, which is why sometimes they have such great evidentiary value.
So I guess that brings me to my next question. When there is a crime committed and you believe a cell phone may have incriminating evidence, do you still have to get a search warrant?
Yes, we can seize the phone, but we can't actually turn the phone on and get the information off of it until we have a warrant. There's a rule, it's basically exigency. If we don't take the phone and hang on to it, there's a good chance that evidence will be lost. So we're able to freeze it so that the evidence is preserved, but we can't actually go get it without a warrant.
And I just want to reassure people, this is not going to be used when they pull you over for a traffic citation.
Absolutely not.
This is for major crimes that are committed and where the evidence could put somebody away. So
Yes.
very good. Mr. Cryer, did you have any comments?
I I did, but you
Oh,
answered it.
okay.
But thank you.
Mr. Waldron?
Is there does this go along with our fee from them that we're paying already? So there won't be any increased monthly fee for having this service?
Like a license agreement or something?
Yeah, something.
As far as I know, this is a one-time cost. There may be a minimal cost for updating the software, but we're basically purchasing the hardware and the software for one license, and at that point, we own it.
Being hooked up to the same outfit that Tehachapi's hooked up to.
Well-
There's no increase in fee on that, is what I'm asking.
Right, well, it would be our own product. Tehachapi has theirs,
Yeah.
and it's connected, actually, they're trying...
You're gonna pay that same monthly fee regardless if you had that unit or not.
Well, there is no monthly fee.
Oh, okay. That's my
The matching funds is just under $5,000, and once we have that, we own it, and aside from the possibility of maybe once a year paying
Gotcha.
to have it updated because new phones came out, other than that, there should be no recurring costs.
Thank you.
The last question I had, and it's just for ongoing purposes, the plan is to use our current technology group to download this stuff and get the information for you. Is there plans for a staff member to learn the process, or is that just too cumbersome and it's cheaper to have IT do it?
Well,
He's speaking to you tonight.
Okay.
We're not going to have anybody doing that.
You're not gonna have
one of the
all-
solutions for that is just, that's Tehachapi PD's policy, is nobody in the department has administrative rights, and because that also gives you access to their network connections,
I
and you
see.
can really mess things up. My solution to that would be, if we had one computer dedicated to just this, and we can use an old computer that we already have that is not connected to the network, and the only software run on it is this, then we won't need IT's help once it gets installed and set up.
That's even better. Very good.
Yep.
Gentlemen, any other questions? Officer Swanson, we appreciate your presentation tonight. Chief, thank you. And again, we want to get you guys the tools that you can use to stop the bad guys.
Thank you for your time.
Good job, thank you. Okay. Are there any other department reports tonight?
Teresa's, but it's...
Okay, Teresa's, we're going to get to yours in a minute. So now, if you'll bear with me, I'm going to go back. I was going to move around a little bit more, but we can't do it because we don't have the document here.
It's ready, if you want.
Is it ready?
They signed it.
Oh, okay, all right, that's fine.
We can do it.
Well, let's go ahead and do it. We're going to now jump to item number 3 on the, yeah, I'll get it, on the agenda, and it is a proclamation recognizing Pete Giannopoulos and establishing Pete Giannopoulos Day. And I have the privilege of reading the proclamation, so if you'll just bear with me. This is a proclamation of the City of Taft, California, proclaiming August 23rd, 2014 as Pete Giannopoulos Day. Whereas Pete Giannopoulos was born, raised, and educated in Taft, he received his associate's degree from Taft College, his bachelor's degree from Fresno State College, his master's degree from Fresno State College. He completed graduate work at UCLA, UC Santa Barbara, Cal State Bakersfield, and Cal State Fresno. And whereas during World War II, he served in the 41st Infantry Division with the Intelligence and Reconnaissance Platoon in New Guinea and the Philippine Islands, and when the war was over, he was assigned to the occupational forces near Hiro, Kuri, and Hiroshima, Japan. And whereas after college, Pete taught 1 year at Lincoln Junior High School and 35 years for the Taft Union High School District as an industrial arts teacher, a counselor, and as the director of guidance. He retired in 1986 after 36 years of service to the students of Taft And whereas Pete Giannopoulos served his community as a city council member from June of 1961 through April 1962, and as mayor from April 62 through April of 1966. He also served as a member of the Chamber of Commerce, Oil Dorado Committee, Kern County Water District, Kernview Community Mental Health Center Committee, the State of California Resource Agency, and the Department of Water Resources. And whereas Pete has held memberships in the Taft Midway Masonic Lodge, Taft High 12, Bakersfield Body's Ancient and Accepted Scottish Rite of the Southern Jurisdiction, Taft American Legion, and the Veterans of Foreign Wars. And whereas Pete Giannopoulos is most known as the originator, host, and producer of Taft Heritage in cooperation with Taft High School and the West Kern Oil Museum, as well as a syndicated weekly newspaper column titled Remember When. Now therefore, the City Council of the City of Taft takes great pleasure in recognizing Pete Giannopoulos as he celebrates his 90th birthday and hereby proclaims August 23rd, 2014 as Pete Giannopoulos Day. This is dated the 19th day of August, 2014. It is proudly signed by myself, the mayor, Orchel Cryer, Randy Miller, Dave Knorr, and Ron Waldron.
Busy man.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. So, Pete, we normally have been taking pictures up here. Do you feel like you can come up here, or you want me to come down to you? All right. One more. All right. How long has it been since you've been up here? A few years. Well, Pete, it's our pleasure to recognize you. You're the man about town. And I had the privilege of first meeting Pete when I came to work at the high school as a very young man. And you were in the guidance center taking care of things there. And I also was looking at some ordinances today, and I found one that you had actually signed that's still in the books. We need to change that. That's too long, so congratulations, Pete.
Thank you very much.
It's our pleasure.
I have the pleasure of saying that at my age, he was my counselor. Very good one.
It's been a long time.
He got me.
Well, thank you, Pete. Yeah, let's everybody get in here. I'll just hold this for you, Pete, and you can look at the camera. All right, very good. Pete, I'll carry this down for you, and if you'd like to take a few minutes to speak, you're welcome to. If not,
Thank you.
That was short and sweet.
watch your step. I hope I'm moving that good when I'm 90.
I hope I'm moving when I'm done.
Yeah. I started to feel it, but
You should.
oh, not now.
I thank you very much. It's been a very pleasant evening. I appreciate everything you people have done. You don't often become 90 years old.
No.
But I'll be 90 on the 22nd of August.
Friday.
Buddy here, Trice Harvey, has a committee that's planning this birthday bash at the Fort Auditorium on the 23rd. He's got a committee composed of himself, Robert Barrett from the island of Antigua, who's going to be there, Joyce Batoon Varner, Bob Hampton. Who else? Les Clark, Brad Cross.
I'll be darned.
And according to the information that we have tonight, the data indicates there'll probably be about 100 people there for a barbecue.
101. I'll be there.
Anyway, I think it's going to be very nice. There have been some other affairs that I've attended. My family got together in mid-July and put on a catered lunch at the First Baptist Church auditorium, and the family was all there. We had a wonderful time. We got to see each other, which isn't too often that we all get together, and we did on that occasion. We had a great time. Anyway, I'm looking forward to Trice and his committee and what they're planning at the Fort Auditorium, and I invite all of you to be there. By the way, Robert Barrett, that I mentioned, sent a check to Trice Harvey for $5,000 to put this extravaganza on. And he also wanted a mariachi band. So if you're there, it may be difficult to hear. Anyway, I hope you can all make it, and thanks again for what you did here this evening.
Thank you.
I
Thank you,
appreciate
Pete.
that.
Thank you. Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't invite Trice Harvey up, a former county supervisor and assemblyman.
Yes.
And I'm a little leery because once Trice gets in front of a microphone, it's kind of hard to get him to hush up. But Trice, welcome tonight and enlighten us.
I'm a little scared myself. First of all, let me say that the Honorable Mayor and Councilman Cryer and Walter, appreciate the fact that you're doing this for Mr. Giannopoulos tonight. I date back to Taft High School in the 50s, and I had a mechanical drawing class from him. Just give you a little piece of history here, why we stayed close ever since then. I got to be in that class. But that class, Ben's had Noah Curdy, another coach, applied electricity, and Monty Reedy, another coach in math. I made the honor roll.
Interesting.
So I was quite proud of myself that once Vince made the honor roll. So I started bragging to my high school sweetheart, little Jackie Stussy, unfortunately since I lost 2 years ago. And she said, "That's really nice, Josh." And I didn't realize it. She was a gold shield bearer. She was CSF. She made honor roll every semester. And so she thought it was kind of funny that I was bragging so much. But let me say what I'm here for tonight. First of all, I want each of you, the council members, and every city council elected official, to know that you're my guest. Really, Bob Barrett is going to be, he's got the money. But you're my guest, but it's legal now because I'm not elected or anything. I can't vote for you. You don't live in town, but I want all of you guys to know that you don't have to pay anything to be there. And I should say this, because it's a surprise to other people that's going to get there. We're having a hamburger or a cheeseburger. Get 7-Up Coke, Bud Light, Coors Light, and the beer is free. But anyway, it's been a pleasure working with Mr. Giannopoulos. When I went to talk to him about this, he says, "Well, how are you going to do this?" I said, "I'm just going to invite some people. We'll have a big party." And way back then, he'll be my witness. I said, I'm sure we'll get 100 people or more there just by sending out little mailers. And I got the class of 58 mailer, class of 55 mailer, the Moron tournament mailer, and on and on. And so that's all that's been out there invited this time. And as today, when you said what you're going to do, Mayor, we're at an even 100. And I'm sure it's going to be bigger than that by the weekend. So I do have the pleasure of doing this for Mr. Giannopoulos, my buddy. But I want you folks to know it couldn't have been as good without you. This is really a nice deal. Appreciate you very much.
Thank you, Trice.
Thank you, Trice. And Pete, from myself and the rest of the community, we wish you a happy birthday. Get your rest because Oil Dorado's just around the bend and we got work for you to do. All right, sir? Thank you again. Yes, sir?
I've been on the executive committee of Oil Dorado for 50 years.
Yes, sir.
It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think this year you go off of probation, so we're good, Pete. Thank you. You've made it a possibility every time we've had that celebration. Thank you.
Man, something to it on, I'm sitting down.
Can I stop you?
Yeah. There's another lady here that I want to tell. The city's been a lot of help with me. Get this all put together, get to hear. I don't know, she's in the back room somewhere here. I want to make sure Deborah knows that she's my guest also.
All right.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you, Trice. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to move back to try to get on course here. And unfortunately, you'll have to bear with us because we need to recess to a closed session quickly to have a conference with our legal counsel. It's an existing litigation, Government Code Section 54956.9, Paragraph A, City of Taft versus California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. Pete, I'm doing it this way so you can slip out if you'd like to.
Thank you.
So we will recess for as much time as it takes, but not very long, I hope. Okay, we are back in session for the regular council meeting, and we will move on to item 1, which is a public hearing on cost and placement of liens on abated property. Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. The property listed below has had nuisance abated. The owner of the record has been notified by certified mail and posting of said property in accordance with the City of Taft Municipal Code of costs incurred during the abatement process. Property is a vacant lot located at Ash and Mary Streets, Taft, California, and the abatement amount is $1,502.91.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. At this time, I would open a public hearing, and I would invite anyone wishing to speak in favor of or against the statement of expense to please come forward. Seeing none, close the public hearing, and I'd entertain a motion to confirm statement of expense is submitted and approved resolution titled, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft approving and confirming the cost for the abatement of the nuisance at Ash and Mary Streets, Taft, California, APN number 220-300-17 in the amount of $1,502.91.
Make a motion?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Mr. Pryor, any comments?
No comment.
Mr. Waldron?
No comments, except where is Mary Street?
Ball fields.
Adjacent to the ball fields,
Oh, yeah, okay, thank you.
where we used to do the burnouts?
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second, and comments. May we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Pryor,
Yes.
Councilmember Wondrop,
Yes.
Mayor Linder,
Yes, thank you. That item passes on a 3-0 vote. And we'll move on to item number 2, is a public hearing on approving the city's Community Development Block Grant CDBG Program Income Reuse Agreement. Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. The state CDBG program recently went through some policy changes to bring the state program in line with current requirements.